everybody. I'd like to call to order the July 12th Downtown Development meeting for the Village of Romeo. If you could all just stand with me, please, and say the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lisa, can you do roll call, please?
Tar?
Here.
Humphries is absent. Melzan?
Here.
Brandt?
Here.
Rose?
Here.
Hayes?
Here.
Kuznanski is absent. Parker?
Yes.
Stevens?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, it doesn't look like we have anybody here for public forum. Before I ask for approval of agenda, I think, Zach, you wanted to remove?
Yeah, just remove the Peach Festival promotion under new business from the agenda.
Under new business, we'll add DDA paying for mulch in the central business or central parking lot.
Okay.
Okay?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with those changes.
Support.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, I need an approval for the minutes as submitted from our June 7th meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll support.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? No. Okay, so in front of us, we have the treasurer's report, but we do not have Carol here. So I didn't really fully go through and look at this. It looks like she's got all of the bills that need to be approved for this month.
What she gave me to give to the village was $4,187.33 needs to be approved.
So I see they made a payment to Vans for $34.12,
Yep.
17, and then the
others were paychecks to me that went back to March.
Okay.
Now, is this the June and July report?
It's through July 12th.
Okay.
So it's going to include June. Yeah, these are June numbers in here.
Yeah, I only asked because it was noted in the minutes that she didn't have the June report. So I was just making sure this was everything that was supposed to be covered in June.
Okay.
And for July.
It looks like that to me. So I need an approval of paying the bills for $4,187.33, please.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Support.
Do a roll call on that one.
Okay.
Hayes?
Yes.
Malzahn?
Yes.
Brandt?
Yes.
Tar?
Yes.
Rose?
Yes.
Parker?
Yeah.
Stevens?
Yes.
Motion carries.
I see she also, and Lisa, maybe you can expound on this, has our estimate TIF income for 2021.
Yeah, that's what she is estimating. That's what she told me. She estimates that will be collected. She did say that one of them wasn't exactly sure on the numbers, but she says it's very close. She said if you'd like to call her, feel free to call her and put her on speakerphone.
Does anybody have a question on this?
We're not really approving anything.
We're not approving it. She's just
It's
giving
just information.
information.
That's fine.
And then the other is looks like our final budget.
Yeah, then that's under your unfinished business for adoption.
Okay, so we'll talk about that then on there. Okay. Lisa, your director's report?
Did some stuff at the office. Kept watching for Miss Dig to flag the stuff.
I never saw her come to my property.
They went to your property, but apparently they have a means of checking it, and
Oh.
they didn't need to flag anything. So there was actually only 2 sites that were flagged, which was the credit union and the museum on Church Street.
They look great. I like the placement.
Yeah.
Did you pick the placement, or did they, or?
Well, Ian and I, the day that he came out, we kind of picked the placement. I thought the one at Credit Union was going to be a little closer to the sidewalk, but after looking at it and a little bit of discussion, I think it's placed that way so it kind of looks over the mural.
Ours is, if you don't look at it, walking right by it, because it's right on top of the sidewalk,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Are we doing anything to promote this?
Because somebody called and asked me, I didn't even know how
Yeah,
many.
it just kind of went up one day.
How many are there?
There is a map.
There is a
There is a
map?
map.
DIA.org, I
Right,
think.
if you look at the plaques that are on the sides of them, it
Oh,
gives
can you scan that with your
You can
cam-
scan it, and
Ah.
it also gives you a website. I am going to email him and ask him if he can send us out some of the actual printed maps.
Maybe if Megan could promote that through the Facebook page, that they could just scan at each one of these, that would be.
It'd be nice to have them out for like the different businesses too.
Right.
I'm sure if they were out at the coffee shop or at your place, people would grab them and
Yeah, for sure.
walk around. So if we could get physical copies, that would be great.
But I had a lady call me and she said, can you give me the locations and how many there are? And I'm like, no.
There's 9. Well, I
There's
can tell you,
9?
There's 9.
9, okay.
There's one on the side of the Village Hall.
I saw that one.
Okay, there is one in front of People Driven Credit Union. There's one on Mary Raymond's building
Okay.
in that alleyway. There's one in front of your building. There's one on Church Street
At
the
the museum.
library.
Oh, at the library?
At the library where the little bike rack is at, and there's a little grass area.
And then there's one
there.
at the museum.
Right, there's one at the museum, there's one in the park, and there's one in Starkweather Alley.
And how long will these be
Oh, and
up?
one on the side of Masonic Temple.
Masonic, I was
Temple.
gonna say.
How long will these be up?
Well, you know, he originally said like the beginning of October, but because they had so many
Hiccups?
hiccups in getting them put up, maybe they'll leave them up a little bit longer.
I wanted to ask, why can't we just leave them up? Is
Well,
there any
they
reason?
take them down, and I don't know if they
They take them
reuse
back.
them,
They
or
don't.
they
Do
take them
they have a
back.
use for them? I mean,
I don't know.
obviously, they're made for outdoor, they're prints, they're,
I think they rotate them around. Like
think they
it'll
do
be at a
rotate
different
them
city.
around.
I think that's what they do.
okay.
The one on the side of John's building is stunning. That's
Is it?
just, oh my God.
Did you see the one on the side of the Masonic?
Yes.
On
That
the side of
was-
your building.
Oh,
I
in the
didn't
alleyway there?
realize
That
how
one?
big it was
Yeah, I like the
gonna
one
be.
on
But that was,
Masonic.
that's a nice location for
It
that
is a
too.
nice one.
You have to go
Yeah.
take another look at it. I think it's on the side of your building. Maybe it's on the side of the Masonic Temple. Maybe you're right.
Was that?
Yeah, that's pretty, I mean,
Conclusion of your,
yeah, and
Comes out as a 3D.
did the stuff for
That's
the
like, oh my
meeting,
God.
I did minutes, I did, posted stuff on the website, posted the office, created packets, sent them out,
Both of them.
checked the emails.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have details on the original stop?
Funding requests, I don't think we have any of those. Do we know if Carol cut the check for the Jeep?
She is in the process.
Okay. Committee reports. I'll go ahead and talk about the hiring subcommittee. I was telling Zach, we put an ad in the classifieds at the MML, and then it's been posted at the Village on the window, the job description, and we received one applicant. I did get a note from this Elizabeth Kellogg over the weekend, but she didn't reach back after I think I kind of copied you on what I said, so. I guess the next step is, and I should convene the subcommittee, but to Zach's question, what if we don't get anybody else that applies? What are we doing here?
Begging Lisa to stay.
Well, she's not going anywhere at the moment, I mean, right? Yeah,
Well, I think you all know that I'm not going to leave you hanging.
right.
I mean, I think you
But-
have to, right, you have to find other sources to publicize it, right? You might have to put it in the Macomb Daily, or you might have to, pay for that,
Indeed.
Indeed, or,
yeah, there's another, was it Suburban something? There's another newspaper, but it's mostly Oakland County.
was it Suburban Lifestyle?
Yeah, that
Okay.
could be it. And so maybe you look at that
Okay.
and put it out there.
So the applicant we did get, he's from Cass City. And he seems like he's a perpetual interner. He's been around but not had real jobs. So
Should we discuss
No.
applicants? and-
No, I wasn't giving a name or anything.
Okay,
So, okay,
So wait, just-
I did forward to Elizabeth this morning the job description that you had emailed to me that's posted in the window.
Okay.
Because you had noted in your email that you didn't have it handy. You gave her
Right.
some details, but I did send her that document. I haven't heard back from her either, but
Okay.
just I forwarded.
So timeline-wise, if we post something, if we extend this again.
this
wait
cutoff was June the 28th. I say we go to the beginning of August.
So go to the beginning of August, and if we don't receive more applicants, because are we, like, do we want 2, 3 people before we start conducting interviews?
I think so, as a committee, we got to come in together and look at what's coming in.
Okay, so after that next month, if we don't get more applicants, then we would reconvene and re-strategize, I guess, to figure out how we're going to
Move forward.
ramp it up a little bit.
Yep.
Okay.
I've had really good luck in our business with Indeed.com and, usually getting a decent handful. They're not always qualified, but at least you get people who respond, so you never know who's targeting. I mean, this is a pretty decent salary, so, and it's free to post on there. Somebody
is?
just needs to take, well,
You can pay
they
for
try
it.
and get you to pay
Yeah.
for it, right? But ultimately, you don't have to put in your credit card information.
You can usually get applicants without.
Yes, without paying for it.
So.
You just have to manage it yourself.
Right.
And, this is important enough that if we got to talk to some sort of maybe recruiting firm, we don't have to pay a ton, but we need to push hard, and find some good applicants. I mean, this is important.
I agree. Yep.
It takes a long time. I've been on executive search committee for Youth for Christ now for over a year. And we're looking for an executive director in Port Huron, and it takes a while. It does.
Okay. All right. The event subcommittee has yet to meet, and I'll take the fall for that. I put out an email, and I didn't hear back from a lot of people right away, so I was on vacation also for 2 weeks. So I have John and I have Carl here. Can we come up with a date to meet? And
Sure.
Lisa, right now, tonight?
Sure.
Um,
What nights don't work?
I threw out mine.
Tuesdays don't work.
I know.
Tuesdays do not work.
Thursdays don't work for me, so
A Wednesday? Does a Wednesday work for you?
During evenings now or
Yes,
morning?
evenings.
I can't do Wednesday the 21st.
Okay.
So we can't do early.
Well, Lisa can't, she's,
Lisa can.
I mean, I could be there probably by like 5:15, but
no, John was asking,
mean,
you couldn't in the morning.
no, not unless you wanted 6 o'clock meeting.
How about Wednesday, the 28th?
no, that's the one week I'll be out of town.
Yeah, that wouldn't work for me either.
Monday, the 26th?
Yeah, I can do that. We leave that night. I can go that day. Oh, shit.
Oh, no, you
We
can't.
leave that night, yeah.
How about next Monday, the 19th? Lisa? John? Yes?
Okay, yep, I'll make it work.
Okay.
They're all,
Where are you meeting? Just,
At the,
you can't meet here because we have a.
No, I
our
know.
board
I
meeting,
was
but
gonna-
just-
Meet at
Either-
John's probably or whatever.
John's, or you guys can come across to the Chamber building.
Yeah, whatever works better.
I'll put a note out there. Did we say 5:30?
oh, and if it's at mine, it's even easier for me. So
Okay, do you want to do that there?
That's great.
Okay,
Is 6 o'clock okay? Because I'm
6
open till
o'clock.
6.
6 o'clock, Monday, 19th.
Monday, the 19th,
at John's?
at John's, yep. Okay, thank you. Okay. Unfinished business. Now, the council approved our budget, correct? Do we have to do anything now?
You could go back and ratify the budget. We didn't make any changes, so that's just typically a follow-up procedure.
And what do you mean by that?
Meaning that since technically you approved it, you were waiting for village council to approve it. They suggested no changes. It's sort of a moot point, but you can follow through on the motions just to ratify. Somebody could make a motion to ratify the budget as
Okay.
presented and adopted by village council.
So it was approved as is.
So does somebody want to make that motion? You can ratify it?
You need a motion.
To
I'll make a motion to ratify
ratify the
as approved by the,
21-22 budget as it was approved by the village council.
right.
Okay. Do we have a second on that?
Sure, I'll support it.
Do we need a roll call on that, Lisa? No? Okay. So we're good on the budget. I
So to
did,
do all in favor?
oh, all in favor?
Aye.
And one abstain.
Okay. And no opposed? Okay. I did hear from Amanda from the county, and I tried to forward. They have the plan in motion. It's about 23 pages long, but there are still some things they're working on. But in front of you, she has some proposed dates to get this so that it's approved by council in October. So the final draft to the DDA would be September. Post plan online for public review would be Friday, September 24th. And then it would be brought to village council for approval on October the 18th.
So we'd have to have a special meeting, or are we pushed back because of Labor Day?
We're pushed back
So
because,
13th is our regular meeting.
right,
Okay.
yep. I thought you meant the whole plan here thing. The
No,
reason
no,
it's
no.
later is they determined we didn't expire till December.
Right, I remember
Yeah.
that from before.
And pretty much what I've seen, and I think I tried to forward it to Zach, but it's too big of a file, was that it pretty well follows what our old plan was, because we all agreed that the priorities in this new plan, they mirror what was there before. And there were quite a few things that were never done. So hopefully through this new plan for the next, 15 years, that some of this can get done.
Well, did we ever, after we got those surveys back, because it's been a while since they were last at that meeting, did they make changes based on?
Well, remember,
those?
at the last meeting, we went through that plan step by
Uh-huh.
step, and we decided to keep everything in it.
I'm just trying to remember what we got back as far as public feedback from the survey, because I remember originally they said it was a very small number. It was only like 13 people had completed the survey, and I think most of us probably did it.
She sent it out again, but I never heard back about
Okay.
whether it
Yeah, because I think
attracted-
we all linked it to our Facebook pages after that.
Right.
But I don't remember.
Because I sent it out from the chamber thing,
Yeah, but
too.
I guess
I haven't
we
heard what the
anything.
results.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Okay.
Well, if you want to add that, my suggestion is add it to your August agenda and then ask her for a recap of those surveys. So if there's any further review that needs to be
Needs to be
done,
put
we
back
can
in
do it
there.
in August, and then she can still proceed with the timeline that she has of September.
Is any of that maybe included in the email she sent?
No.
Okay.
No, it wasn't. Basically, it was sending me the plan and then this portion down here. You got that as a item, Lisa, for the agenda? Thank you. Okay, when was it, last Wednesday? Thursday?
Whatever day it rained.
Trench downpour.
Every day?
I'm on to the parking
Narrows
study,
it down.
and
Yes.
Christine and I met with Paul Amira from Rowe, what is it, Rowe and Company?
It's just Row.
Okay.
Yeah, Row Professionals.
Professionals, about the crosswalks. And we walked around the town looking at the one that's over at Rawls on the north quadrant by that house is going to require a lot more work than we had thought initially, correct?
It's more challenging because of where the trees are located in the intersection and the sidewalk and steps that come down off that Fear Not building. And so Jeff was just looking for some alternatives and really suggesting that we take down those two trees and actually move the sidewalk over a little bit where the easement is.
And part of this conversation led to a parking study, which we talked about a couple months back. it was suggested perhaps maybe you start making Rawls one-way traffic, so you could, have this crosswalk that doesn't have continuous traffic coming from both sides. So it was something that was asked to be brought back to the DDA about doing. In his proposal, he did, was it $3,600 for a parking study, that he would conduct a parking study for us?
Just for Rawls.
Although as a caveat, I did send him the 2 documents that Nikki Chaika sent to us. And he did an initial review, and he thought that the parking study would be less because there was some very useful, information already gathered. But he didn't give me a new number.
Okay.
But didn't we kind of determine when we looked at that a lot of that report was kind of, I don't want to say outdated, but more irrelevant just because it was a lot of speculation on.
It was more so what we've already done, right? That's already in there, right? So the areas that we've already addressed, the Bailey Street parking lot, right? It's already been identified. So Paul just thought that he could utilize some of that. Again,
But I'm saying a new parking study might help this crosswalk situation too.
And this is going to be, it's going to be a parking study that encapsulates the entire village or just the CBD?
The Central Business District.
Okay. I mean, Greg, we looked at some of those lots before. Did you think, just your personal opinion, like, we can kind of look and identify where there's places. Do we really need to pay?
I think the money should be spent on it. If the survey boundaries are there, then let's hire someone to find them. If it's a matter of them just going out there and finding them with their searching tool. And if they're not there, let's get a quote on. We have to, I've said this, it's how we can start. I was behind the dry cleaners the other day and back in that area, and there's just too much confusion on who's responsible for what. And then once we know who owns it, then we can begin helping and provide solutions to those individuals, because people will feel like, I don't want to improve someone else's property, that's the village's property, or so I think that's more important, Zach. I think there's plenty of parking, and I know in my quadrant, there's a lot available. We've got folks who are going to get that restaurant up and running here eventually, and they're not concerned about parking one bit. There's the streets, there's the behind the bank. I don't know who owns that, if that's bank or not, but it's stuff
owns
there.
As part of that parking study and my conversations with Paul was to pick up where we left off in the payment in lieu of portion. Remember, we brought that idea back, it's allowable where you can assess a parking fee for businesses, but I am unsure, I'm still unsure, how does that program sort of function? Does it stay with the building or does it stay with the business, right? Is there a bank that's drawn from? There's a lot of details that needs to be worked out, and Paul said that he would include part of that as
So for me, I thought it
to come up
was
with a number.
not just the parking lots, but the flow of traffic through the town.
It's that, it's looking at, okay, do you meter it? Or do you enforce what's already, signed for restrictions on parking? Do you look at changing it from angle to parallel or parallel to angle? Do you look at changing what we could garner, changing Newberry and Rawls by that park into, again, angle versus parallel parking? There's a lot more involved than just going, well, yeah, you could park here. Well, but you could park here and you could pay $100,000, but you're only going to get 6 spaces. Or if you look over here, you could maybe get 25 spaces and it might be more this cost. It's more in-depth details that we would garner from an actual professional parking study than just walking around going, yeah, I can park my car here or you can park your car there.
Well, I would say it's not a either or, then it's a both and. It takes, us in this board to be very involved in it and an active participant, as well as the state survey along with the park, because we still are going to go back to who really owns that property. Can you really park there? And again, I sound like a broken record. Behind the dry cleaners is a perfect example, I think. And there's other spots too.
Mary owns it.
Well, how far does Mary own it?
Ask her.
Well, right.
Simply go ask her.
No, I'm not going to, because I don't, you would say Greg Tarr owns my parking lot in front. I've never had a stake survey. I was told I own it. I bought the building with 3 spots in front, but I don't know where the, you know what I mean? It just,
You can click on the GIS and find it too.
yeah, but they don't pin it. From the sky, it's tougher. You know, you can see it in those, if you look at the boundary lines.
How many thousands of dollars do you want to throw in
Let me
this
finish, Bill,
survey?
that's what I want to do first. If you look at the overhead on mine, my boundary line goes through the middle of my building, you know? So it's just, it's wonky. We need to know who owns what. Now, I think we should spend a lot on it to know where these, all these records and have these, you know, even if it's certain areas that are more troublesome than others, you know, probably behind your building and behind the office pub and all that area is not so questionable. But if we're going to try to redevelop that back quadrant behind, you know, again, I'll say the dry cleaners, that whole area, stripe it, get some normal flow through there, got these utility lines, leaning poles, let's find out who owns it, where it is, and go from there. That would be probably one of the most mission critical areas, I think, back behind my area. Who owns behind the bank? Do we know who owns that strip along there?
Yeah, the bank does.
Okay, that's what Bill Parker says, who's, no disrespect, who's been here for a long time, and I'm not disagreeing with that, but I don't know if they'd agree with that if somebody blew their ankle out in it. So I don't know.
I think there's a lot going on in that back quadrant right now, where we're talking about the park, we're talking about the crosswalks now, we're talking about, you know, if we change that to a one-way, if ultimately that's a goal, to change it to a one-way road.
Well, I don't know.
Well, I know, but if that's something you want to do, what is this parking study going to tell us? That we can do it? Or is it better to just talk to an engineering firm to see
Well,
what
isn't
it
that
would-
what he is?
I don't know.
He's an engineering firm.
But I'm saying, but is that parking study ultimately,
I think it's a jump-off point for us to make decisions that we have in writing in front of us. We're guesstimating here right now. The
Well, I don't
study's
think
done
we're-
from 1998.
we're not guesstimating anything because we're not doing anything.
Right. Well, so my point is, I think-
If this is something collectively that's tied into a strategy with what's going on with the park or anything else like that, maybe that's a bigger conversation for a subcommittee on that, but just to say, let's run a whole parking study again for the CBD without a plan to implement it, like it was done 15, 20 years ago.
But why was it never implemented 15, 20 years ago?
I don't know, I was in high school.
Right. I mean, I think you,
Nice one.
if we committed to having a parking study done, then that's what we're doing. We're committing to utilizing the detail and the data that's being provided to make a plan, right? To make a plan for parking, identifying the areas where we would get the biggest bang for our buck, the areas of the need, and some other ideas that may not necessarily be, just 1 second, putting asphalt down on the ground. If you look at that study, everybody read it, we had copies, the 2 that are old, there were a lot of ideas in
That
there.
were never implemented.
Right.
John?
Well, this company, Rowe, right, who I think you're saying has proposed a parking study.
It was part
of
of the cost to
Is this?
the crosswalks.
No.
No?
It was a separate
in
proposal.
addition, can this company assist in what Greg's looking to have done as well, as far as staking? I mean, is this an engineering?
You have a copy of his proposal because we presented that for our goals and objectives. I don't remember exactly what the details were in
Well,
there.
he's wondering if they have the credentials to.
Right, so
Yes.
maybe if he's already did a proposal, maybe, you know, how much
I don't think
more
they're
would-
I think they're different, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what's
He
involved.
probably works with a survey company.
Sure.
He's an
Rowe
engineering
has
firm.
their own surveyors.
Pardon
So,
me?
Rowe Engineering has their own surveyors.
so what would it take for him to add a survey to the study that we're talking
Especially in
about?
certain areas, you know,
Yeah,
not
even
necessarily,
in certain areas.
probably the trouble areas.
When did we received a copy of this, you said?
Yeah, during our goals and objectives, it was there, I believe.
You think?
I know what, well,
I don't remember seeing
you know what, I think 80%. I know that I put it in front of village council.
Yeah, I remember printing it. They had it.
Okay, hold on.
the 3,600 proposal for this?
Oh, I don't remember
I thought
seeing
you
that.
had just, I read into what Kelly was saying when you guys met just a week ago, that this was brought up.
No, we were just talking about parking as part of our looking at the pedestrian crosswalks.
Okay.
We were out surveying the areas, because Village Council did approve the next steps for that pedestrian crosswalks, the 51,000, which is the soil boring samples and the survey, the topical surveys. And then, but Paul had 2 areas that he needed a little bit of clarification, as Kelly identified, Rawls and St. Clair, and then Newberry and Van Dyke. Those are the 2 most troublesome quadrants, so.
Yeah, I don't have it.
I mean, I guess I don't remember seeing the proposal, but if, I feel like
I
it
don't
should be
recall
tabled
seeing it
until
either.
put the proposal in the packet if we're voting on something and present it at the next meeting.
But I would like, Kelly, there's 2 things here. One is, if there's going to be walkarounds and stuff, I don't know if there's some sort of open meetings deal when you have too many people together for it, but and if I missed the invite, shame on me, but I'm willing to be part of that sort of stuff, to hear what's going on and be involved. And secondly is, again, I'm going to stay on this whole survey thing because I think it's important for certain areas. And then we then have to come together and come with some solutions for these areas. Dumpster corrals, whose property are we trying to put them on? Can we acquire some of that property?
So I guess the first step I'm hearing is table this until we go back to Paul and ask him to include what a state survey would be to these parking lots, along with the parking study. Is that what I'm hearing?
I'd like to see if he's capable of doing it and how much would that add? And then we can, instead of just saying we need staking, how much does it cost?
Right.
Well, especially knowing, like, are we hitting our, we've got 45,000 budgeted for the dumpster projects and 10,000 for the Lafayette bike path, like Village Park improvements, another $10,000. Like, are we hitting on all of that? When does he know what our goals and objectives are as well?
But I think to make these goals and objectives happen, you have to have the study done in place to see.
Maybe. I don't know. I feel
Well,
like
they're the professionals. They're going to tell us what they believe is.
Where is it in so where is that in the budget for this project? Where would that come from?
Well, like we do with other projects for Christmas
Well, no, I'm
stuff,
just
we're
asking
going to borrow it from.
if we talked about it, if it was included in if the proposal was included in goals and objectives, I'm sure we would have earmarked that somewhere in the budget.
Well, we didn't earmark a parking study in the budget.
I think that's what he's saying. He's confused
Right,
by
so
that.
what I'm saying is we're going to have to go through and see where we could take it from.
Okay. I guess I'm just confused because if it was talked about at goals and objectives.
Okay, so at goals and objectives, we have kiosks, wayfinding, village park improvements, dumpster. How can we do these without having in place a plan, knowing that we can go get the property for the
That's fair.
dumpster?
I understand. I think where we might be a little hung up is we're calling it a parking study. And that seems maybe, because as Zach and I walked around, looked at stuff, and, we kind of know, like, okay, this is where we can park. And I understand this is more than a parking study. So maybe, Zach, you'd feel more comfortable about it if you understood and were confident it was going to encompass more of
all the infrastructure projects that we talked about at the goals and objectives and that we have in the budget, and not just that, but knowing what this study entails. It doesn't include the surveying. We don't know that.
Well, that's what we're asking. We're going to go back and ask him and bring it back to next month's meeting.
Can you maybe get him here? I mean, that'd be good because.
He was supposed to come tonight.
But then there was a conflict in
All
the
right,
schedule.
well, the next time, I think,
we could
or
invite
at
him.
least bring him in by phone. If we're going to spend a bunch of money with them, we should be able to hear a little bit more about, and even see some of the stuff they've done for Hillsdale or Elmont or whoever else they've worked for. It'd be interesting to know. I think it's very important. I like this. We're going in the right direction. But, yeah, let's,
Well, we've put $95,000 into improvements for this proposed budget. I think somewhere in there we can find
I agree.
the money to do this.
I would agree. I think we want to know more about what this
Right.
is.
So I will see if he can get here.
Yeah, we can invite him for August and.
Have you guys done work with Urban Land in town at all? Urban Land
I
Consultants?
mean, he's a member of my chamber.
Pete is?
Yeah. Mhm.
Ask him.
Well, they're already working with,
No, but just ask him, as a chamber, hey, what's, they do that stuff. What's a stake survey cost? Just for the fun of it. I mean, I can call Pete too. It's, it's just a casual conversation. I mean, if those marks are all there somewhere, they should be able to beam them down somewhere from the space and then put a pin there.
Are the survey stakes really that different from the actual measurements you get on your deed? Because I know exactly the length and width of my building property, and
Yeah.
and say it's a foot off. Is it really going to change that much that we want to spend that much money on a staked survey?
I think the reason for it in some areas, is not all areas, is just so we know where those corners are.
I agree, the central lot, you people all probably know exactly where your property is. It's wonky over there in that.
No, I understand that. And if you want to use Mary's as an example, she has the width and it goes, let's just say it's 110 for a number, it goes 110 out. So you could go from the front corner and measure it out. And whether it's a foot or
Well,
6 inches shorter or wider, I don't know how that will change much.
no, I would agree with that. I think it's more of having somebody actually do that. I mean, someone's going to walk around with a bunch of flags and paint and mark this so that we can then drop back, get some good pictures of
Sure.
stuff. So when we're talking, we could see some, say, okay, how do we approach these 4 building owners that between the 4 of them, all their corners touch, and it's a mess there. And they all say, I'm not doing that, I'm not doing, because they live in Roseville, they live in Rochester, they live wherever, they maybe not even seen the property for a year. I mean, like the property I just purchased, they spent nothing on it for over a decade, not a dime on improvements and parking bumpers and sidewalks and stuff. They didn't care because the rent was being paid. The absentee ownership, it's a it's a big issue. I know one year I called you a couple years ago, about a year or so ago, there's a huge sinkhole in the back parking lot, and I don't think anybody really knew who owned it exactly. It was just kind of there, sort of back behind your building there somewhere. And I took my Tahoe through it, and it absorbed my Tahoe tire, and it's like, okay, what happens with a whatever? So anyway, that's one of those things. If we know, then forever we kind of know, hey, who's the building owner we should talk to about how we can help them. Not about jamming on anybody.
No,
Then we can help them. I want to offer.
I just thought those numbers would all be on paper and.
Yeah, they
wherever
are.
on Village
I think
somewhere.
it's transferring from paper onto the ground so we can see physically where those corners are. That's my thought. I mean, I don't know.
well, I guess what I'm hearing is to get Paul Amir here to this meeting in August, with him bringing some numbers and some facts on the parking study, and have that on the agenda. Okay? New business. So we talked about the mulch. And the DDA will pay for the mulch, but we need people to help put it down, right?
Yeah, Carl and I volunteered to do that one morning. I have no problem picking it up from, wherever.
Is there still mulch out?
You can probably find some. I think Kroger still has it out. Home Depot, something like that.
Home Depot does, yep.
How much do
Do
we?
you want me to check with somebody in town like Ron and see if he can deliver some, or is that more expensive?
Does
probably-
Ace Hardware have it?
Well, Ron White could deliver it, but do you guys want to wheelbarrow it all around?
It would probably be easier for me to throw it in the back of my truck and just
Right.
drive from
Okay.
spot to spot with a shovel and just do that.
Where are you
So
doing this? Where's this going?
this is going to go in the lot where, like, for Office Pub Youngers, right back there, those beds that are just kind of along the side there. So we'll kind of, maybe I'll take an assessment.
Okay.
I'm not good at
So what was the plan, to get Ron?
Well,
I mean, we can check
just
it.
trying to keep it local, that was all.
Right, no, I don't disagree, but
And
How many bags are you thinking?
that's what I don't know. I was gonna,
Well,
maybe I'll
like
walk
20
tomorrow and
or
see. I don't
30.
even know a
So what,
total. how-
you want to make a motion to not to exceed $250?
That's kind of what I was thinking.
okay.
All right, I'll make a motion to not exceed $250 to buy bag mulch.
I'll second it.
Roll.
Lisa?
Yeah.
Zach, if you tell me when you guys are gonna do it, if I'm here, I'll stop over. I'm not afraid to help out, so just
Yeah,
let
no
me know
problem.
when, if I can help.
Okay, Malzahn?
Yes.
Tar?
Yeah.
Rose?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes.
Brandt?
Yes.
Parker?
Yeah.
Stevens?
Yes.
Motion carries.
My question I was going to ask, though, instead of buying bags, is it cheaper to get, like, 5 yards?
Depends how much we need.
It is cheaper, but it's probably, it's more
Messier.
work.
It's
just more
messier,
work.
too.
That's
Ends
all.
up being more work.
Yeah, okay.
Because
It's messy.
You gotta shovel
you have
it
to
in, shovel
have,
it
you have to
out.
have a human being, you have to have a
Right.
wheelbarrow, and you have to shovel it in and spread it out. It's just,
Yeah,
Easier to open the bags and pour.
you
Preference on color?
He doesn't want red.
Anything but red? Brown?
brown, I think, is,
Is that what's in there
I
right
think
now?
black absorbs the water too much.
Yeah, I like the darker.
brown or black.
Brown or
Just out
black?
of curiosity, did we decide we were buying another flower pot for the one that's broken? We talked about that as well.
Which one's broken?
Behind the pub. Right, you mean the one behind the
We
pub?
did talk about it. Megan had pricing.
And I don't know what we decided.
I don't think we
I
ever.
do have that.
Because there's, right, we had another trip and fall back there, out
Oh, you did?
behind the office pub, where the channels are set for the stormwater to
Mm-hmm.
run off. And that right now there's the 3, but there's one that's not covered. And so I was gonna suggest that we look at that if we were gonna buy the one to replace that one that's cracked.
Get 2.
We get 2.
There's another design fault there in that if you look at it, you realize that every week somebody pushes it with their trucks.
I know.
I mean, this is, sounds
Yeah.
stupid, but
No, I know.
since I walk through there every single day, I can tell you those things get pushed around and they weigh conversationally several hundred, if not a ton.
So the broken one is the cement still,
Yeah,
right?
and what the design fault is, if you're gonna put those things there, and people come in with a big truck, then you need steel posts in front of them to stop idiots from hitting it. And the one in back of Youngers gets moved every
Yeah.
single...
It's always askew, yeah.
Yeah.
It's always being moved. And it's like, it sounds stupid, but just go out there and take a slow motion
Well,
picture of it, watch it move
These
around.
that Megan gave us are not cement. These are high resin pieces, so
Right,
those
which are
would move
the
around.
3 long ones that he's talking about that
Are
are in
resin?
back. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We need cement, we need steel
Oh, I thought those
posts
were
on them.
cement.
I thought they were cement
That's how you
too.
do it.
The ones that are back there?
You
They
do
are.
something
They're
that
cement.
stops
Those-
somebody from
yeah, they're
driving
cement.
through.
They're cement, they're not resin.
Those
I
ones
think
that
those are cement.
No, those ones that are back there are exposed aggregate. They're like an aggregate.
They're-
two that
they're
are-
the reddish ones?
Yeah, the reddish,
that
the
are
long
about,
troughs.
Yay long.
Yeah,
and
the troughs.
About yay wide.
Yep.
and 2 feet high. That's cement. The amazing thing is that
Yeah.
anybody can...
Do you know the company that we bought those from?
Those were, those were shipped here from Boca Raton, Florida,
Okay.
at a
Expensive?
ridiculous for amount of money from what I remember seeing, yes.
Well, I bet, because they're cement.
Yeah, the shipping was like $800 a piece.
I have a question.
Sure.
Is the objective of those particular areas we're talking about to cover the drainage channels that are in the cement? Or are they to have flower pots with flowers?
Flower
in them?
pots.
I think they were intended originally for beautification, and then they turned more into a functional, right. Yeah, they served a purpose by
As a drainage
where they
thing?
were sitting. No, just where they're sitting, because people were,
Because I was going to say, if these drainage channels are a problem, it seems like, well, that's a design flaw. Why don't we figure out how do we cover those?
right, you can
more-
get a metal grate and secure a metal grate over it, but it was just easier to move the planters down into those locations. But Bill's right, if you have a big pickup truck
Yeah.
that's backing in, or somebody, with a longer
Okay.
bed, they're just nudging it, and then it just gets,
In the
askew.
wintertime, the snow people are hitting them because the people have got the snow plows on the front of them.
So is your suggestion to remove them? in
No, my
that-
suggestion is to get steel
Anchor
posts
them
put in
down.
around them, and it's very common to do that.
Or,
You've got to do something, otherwise, buying a new one, that's fine, but it's
But it
going to get
doesn't matter.
smacked by somebody else's truck.
Right.
or if the location doesn't lend itself to flower pots, then get rid of them, fix the drainage. with
Actually,
steel
John's
grates,
right,
and
maybe.
be done with it.
Maybe just, you have to face the fact it doesn't work in that parking lot because you need the overhang for trucks. If that's the answer, then that's the reality.
I mean, if it's simply 3 drainage channels, then I don't know how that is done, but cover those up and be done.
Going the next step, though, is if the reality is that they're chronically being crunched, then the reality might mean that they need to come out, period.
So either they come out or we surround them with steel poles.
I don't know if they need to be surrounded. I'm thinking just at the back of the parking spaces, there's a hydrant there right now, that there's just a ballard that was installed so that no one plowed into that. You would just do the same thing.
What if we have the DPW folks, Tim or something, go over and give us an assessment idea, maybe how to, you're talking about that drop-off that exists between the 2 parking curbs. It's an ankle breaker between there, and they put the pots across there. So maybe there's a piece of steel that's powder coated that gets put across that's going to last for 15 years, and no one trips on it, no one breaks it.
That would be great. And the next question is, do we bother putting the flower pots there that are chronically getting hit?
No, then we just oust the flower pots.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's,
And to
maybe
be
the
honest-
reality is, it's a great idea, but the reality is it doesn't work.
And to be honest with you, the pots don't even cover really the whole thing.
Right.
It
It's just a
deters you from
visual.
walking through
It's a
there.
visual.
It's just a
But there's
visual.
still, as you call them, ankle breakers right at either end of them, so.
But is that going to alleviate people tripping over there?
I think the ones in the center, it
People
might.
trip over
Probably not
anything,
one.
right? They can trip literally over anything, so, no.
Okay.
It probably won't solve that. It may reduce it.
So do we ask the DPW to remove those flower pots then, rather than replace them?
Well, let's maybe look at someone maybe look at a piece of plate steel that can be put in there. If it's powder coated or something, it won't rust and can last forever there. And if it's 18 inches, 20, I don't know what the length is there. Or maybe there's a masonry fix there that a mason could do something there with concrete or
But that, you still want to get rid of the flower pots.
I don't
understand.
know that we need to get rid of the flower pots. I mean, they're beautiful. The greenery, the way that they're planted right now are beautiful. That doesn't mean they can't be moved to
Right.
the other side of the curb. Maybe you actually put them on the alleyway walk
Right.
surface so that they're still there. They're
But-
just, they can't be backed into by a vehicle.
Okay. So is that a DDA thing that we're
I think
going to?
we should ask the village to ask the DPW guys to look at it, maybe come up with an idea on, I know Jeff Rapp does a bunch of concrete around town. Maybe he's a guy who can say, hey, we can pour a small bumper, a curb somehow, or do something and then put a piece of plate steel over it. I haven't looked at it real closely in the last long time, but I think we need a mechanical solution for it.
Yep.
And that's, whoever does that sort of stuff for the village should come up with an idea for it.
Do you have somebody, Christine?
No, other than asking Jeff or Jeff Rapp, like you said, or asking Tim Metz, what,
Well, should we ask Tim to see, give us a suggestion on how to get it fixed? Can you do that?
I can,
Okay.
Will you? No, just kidding.
I will.
All right. Okay. Everybody wants to be an officer, right? We have to pick a chair, co-chair, and secretary.
Right now it's Kelly, right? It's Zach and
Megan.
Is Megan the secretary?
Yes.
Does anybody ask Megan if she wants to remain secretary, or?
I didn't know she wasn't coming.
I didn't either. Because I'd make a motion to just keep it as is.
I'd second it.
Let's just get this done, right?
No, but we need to help. We need to work together on all this, and I appreciate, Megan, yourself, Zach, people stepping up. it's a ton of work, and I know everybody's busy, and I appreciate it, but I think we're gonna get those crosswalks. And I had Mike Romano stop me today on the road. He's like, you know what we need? Just like Oxford, we need some crosswalks downtown. I'm like, funny you should say that, Mike. And he was just baffled by it, when I told him he was so pleased.
I drove through there yesterday. They really slow you down.
It's fantastic.
It is.
It is
I
just,
mean, you are going, there are, I think there's 6 of them.
or
through.
16, one or the other. There's a
But-
lot.
And they're narrow.
They're like rumple strips.
Yeah. Have you been over there since then?
No.
It's great.
Yeah, you are slowing down in that town.
It's fantastic. I think it's just awesome.
I didn't know Mike, he's not paying attention. He
I
normally
guess
is in
not.
the know.
I was
would've
kind
known about that already.
I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, that does, he's too busy promoting Ryan.
Yeah.
So was there a motion to?
I heard a motion, I didn't hear a second.
I'll second.
I think Greg already said.
Greg did
Greg
second.
did.
Well, wait, did we answer?
Yeah,
No, we
first right of
haven't yet.
refusal, right?
I like this seat a lot better than that one, so I'm good.
All right, I'll do this as long as you stay in that
I'm
seat.
right here. I'm not
All
going
right.
anywhere.
Then you just probably need to do an all in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
No opposed, huh?
Megan doesn't have a choice.
Yeah, she didn't get a vote.
And she'll never miss another meeting.
They always say, don't miss a meeting, or you're going to be put on something. All right, guys, I think, anybody, Greg, do you have something you would like to?
I do. Well, I guess maybe we sort of covered it. I'm sort of anxious a bit about these, some of the stuff we already talked about, dumpster corrals, and if and when that's going to start taking some traction.
But I think this is a good starting point
Right.
to bring Paul O'Meara to the meeting next
Yeah.
month and let us get some numbers in
Yeah.
his focus and what this will entail.
The loan, that's what I wanted to ask about. Did you find a
Did you get my
negative?
text back? I texted you back. I did reach out to Joe,
I didn't see that.
and we did not meet in person, but we had a phone conversation, and he has never seen a
did text
DDA
back.
borrow money on its own. It would typically go through the village.
Okay, but that doesn't, just because what they've seen and not seen, is there a Michigan number we got?
Well, I guess I didn't ask that question.
Well, the point is we can go back to them with the Michigan state statute that says, yeah, DDAs can borrow and we're good for the money because we have, don't we have
We have money.
collection authority, right?
Well,
So-
if your plan renews, you do. Otherwise, no, you've been
Greg,
terminated.
Through this 4 or 5 years ago with PNC's vice president, we are a creature corporation in the village. It has to go through the village. And in calculating what we could borrow, it is determinable by what the village has already borrowed and what their indebtedness is.
I think I
Statutory,
still
at
would
least
ask
that's
the
what I was
question.
told.
I still would ask the question to the state.
That's what I was told by Vice President of Commercial Lending at PNC.
I still would go to the state of Michigan and ask the question.
Okay.
Well, and then we could ask the village. I mean, if anybody knows anybody on the village, we could talk, what could we not just work through the village? How does that work if we become, you're basically bringing us to the bank and saying, hey, this is DDA, they have taxing authority and they want to borrow some money and we're good to go. I don't think the community bank would run from us. I think Tri-County would understand we're pretty collectible. And we're not talking about $1 billion here.
Depends on what you want to borrow it for, right? And how much it is.
Well, that's another discussion, if we can do it versus what it's for and all that. We first should find out if we can do it. And really, it's just to it's to basically get some projects done now rather than having to, like buy a piece of land, for instance. It might take $100,000 to buy it now, but we have 9 years to pay for it or 4 years to pay for it, which the money's going to come in, but to miss an opportunity, I think to have a line of credit ready to go for that type of thing, that if we unanimously agreed, however it all works, to acquire this particular, and I would challenge the village should be in the same spot if possible, looking to acquire some key pieces if they should come up and be available. There's just, so anyway, the loan thing was one thing I wanted to ask about, but I did not see your text and I missed it. I don't know how.
I'll
Yeah.
show you, I sent it to you.
No, I got it right here.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I did send it, okay.
within minutes.
I know.
I was in the bank talking to them about it, I dictated, sent it out, and then I probably, whatever, so
Put it in
thank
your
you.
pocket and completely forgot.
All right, that was one thing I did want to ask you today, so.
Okay. Christine, do you have any?
One other thing, if we could, is there some way we could get somebody here at the meeting from one of these utility companies? Again, that back parking lot, there's multiple. I had a pole next to my building 2 years ago when we shook the guy wire, the whole pole, and DT came out and swarmed it. They tied it off to another tree across behind Connie's place, and they swarmed it, put a team of guys on it, put in new poles, and it's fantastic. You know, I think we have a number of questionable poles, the condition of them, and the placement of them, which is a little bigger issue behind the dry cleaners, again, back in that area. You think that's where I hang out all the time, right, behind the dry cleaners, but there's just, it's like a third world country when you look up there and you see these wires and poles and stuff, and they're leaning. It's just, you know, there's parking bumper footings that are pushed out of the asphalt and tilted, and it needs to be cleaned up. And if we could just chip away at a few of the things here and there. So I think a utilities person from DTE that could have some expertise in poles and could help us with what they could do. I think.
I have a contact from DT.
Yeah,
He sat on my board for a long time.
yeah, that'd be good.
Bill? You and Rex have to leave?
Rex looks like he's ready.
Now he's waking up, he was falling asleep.
John?
Real quick, this inside out art project, is that what that's called?
Inside outside? Yep.
First I had seen it, first I had experienced it, so, and I've already gotten comments, so commend to, you know, how that happens and however that took place. More of that type of thing is great. Having things like this around all of us just helps. It kind of like gives a little bit more of a destination for people to come out and hopefully find all of us, find our businesses, find Romeo. Extending business hours, I have found, has helped. I don't even know how many have, if anybody. I know one directly across the street in your old building, extended hours, and it's helped me out. So the more of the businesses, the retail that can do that, I think that really helps everyone else. Last thing real quick, and it was kind of just brought up, regarding communications, there's texts, there's emails.
I know.
I find, at least for myself, I don't know where stuff's coming from, and I don't know if there's a way to try to
I like
discuss
email personally.
streamlining, and then I see emails, for example, and then I never see responses, and I don't, does it drop off? Do we not get them? Are people not getting emails? So I just throwing that out
I
there.
guess I need
it's
to
maybe
program
something to
everybody's
discuss in the
number in
future.
my phone. That's my, because I'll get a random number. I know Greg's number, but
Yeah, we should maybe just standardize, at least amongst us.
everybody
so
stand
that
here and
in
put
between
everybody's number in
meetings-
their phone.
Well, could someone just send out, Lisa, could you send out a blast to everybody with the,
I think our
guess-
emails are all in that booklet that she gave, or our phone
Your
numbers are all in
email,
that.
yeah, your emails are all in that
They're-
booklet.
I think they're all
Talking
there.
text.
I think I thought the phone numbers were there too, but maybe I'm wrong.
It just seems like maybe we should agree as to how do we, amongst us, want to communicate between these meetings, because I
Text
see
is best
texts
for
and
me.
emails, and I never see responses.
Obviously, it's
replies,
best for me.
I mean, I might not be.
It's
getting
usually
any.
best
I
for
check
me.
the email regularly, and
I
it's rare
prefer-
that there's
Yeah, I text
emails about
text.
any DDA business.
If there is, I send, like today, mine bounced back. for news.
So-
For the DDA email?
No.
Oh, it bounced back.
No, I sent it to info@fans.
Oh, okay.
So that's just a suggestion I had as far as maybe.
So what do you guys wanna
standardizing
do?
that For all of us.
I think the text, once a day is recommended.
Okay.
But I mean, I could change mine.
Everybody should go off.
Pardon me?
Everybody should go off.
Oh, my phone's off right now.
I always just go to like whatever the last group text was that.
There's mine,
Well,
yeah,
that's what I
thanks.
did. And
Confirmed,
you've got,
you
yeah, so
And I
you've got
understand that,
everybody's.
Lisa, but what I guess then, if we want to agree, if we inter.
Communication
board
only through text?
communication,
Only through text?
Whatever we want, just.
You just have to be careful of the OMA,
Yeah, and I'm not talking.
because if you're using your personal device and somebody, for DDA business, and somebody wants to FOIA it, then you have to, you know, you could end up turning your device over.
Well, that's why maybe text isn't the best.
Right.
Solution.
It's way more convenient, I grant you that, but you just have to be careful that you're really not discussing DDA business, right? If it's, you know, do we have a quorum for tonight's meeting? All right, the shout out, are you
Well, then,
are you
let's
in, are
stick
you
to-
out? Right. Are we having a meeting? That sort of general question, there's no problem with, but as long as you're not, you know,
I think what's
discussing.
confusing, John, you probably, is when I'm sending it from my chamber email, should I send it from my personal email?
I think everybody should have DDA emails, period.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
It really, I know it's an expense, you know, it's an expense on the village side, just for ours, but I think you have to look to budget that. If you
But
really-
we already have it. Everybody
I
should
don't
have,
have- I don't have-
everybody,
But
I
you-
received a DDA email address when I first joined the board,
Yeah,
and
you're right, I never checked mine.
You only have a DDA email if
Right.
you can get a hold of the guy who is the one that's in control of the website to create the email.
so the problem is that's obviously, I think it was set up through,
Well, can we change that?
Google.
To go under the village's email?
You could talk about that, but, right, again, there's a monthly charge for every email address.
Like, what are they? $30 an email? $5 an email?
It's like probably $6 a month.
I think
maybe,
it's 10 or 15.
Yeah.
It could be 20. I don't think it's 30, but.
Per email address?
But that's the other question, are we still paying for like
We're not paying for
Randy's
anything.
email and Jason Arnott's
We're
email?
not paying for anything.
They're not.
He hasn't charged us for as long as I've.
That's why we need a new website.
We just need to take over whatever it is we need to take, because that, I'm pretty confident that email is handled by.
The server.
Well, no, it's through Gmail. I'm pretty sure it's through Gmail.
So why can't we just make a whole group through Gmail?
We can, but there's somebody who is an admin who would be responsible for creating an email address for everybody. So like-
Because again, right, if it's an OMA issue, if it's something that's FOIA, you need to have somebody who can go and retrieve all of the information from that account to fulfill the FOIA.
and we're sending documents.
That's why there's a
or-
charge involved for it, because
Didn't we
somebody
have a
could have to do the work.
discussion about having this sort of rebuilt, all of our website and all that stuff? And I know
Yeah.
Sean O'Brien's name got thrown, I forwarded a handful of people some stuff of the work he's done and out of Davison, and did a
Yeah.
fantastic job with some of that. And why wouldn't we just get rid of whoever
Well,
Lisa's
we talked
speaking
about
of?
that, but we were trying to wait until we hired somebody else, but
Right.
it seems like necessity that we have emails.
Right, and a valid website. I mean, it still shows Mike and Marion,
Right.
What shows my?
your
Our
website.
website.
Because there's parts of there I cannot, there's things in
So
there
there's
that
some
I
things you
can't
can update and
change.
some things you
I
can't.
can't, I can't, there's multiple things on there I can't
need a
do
new
anything with.
website.
I can post minutes and agendas and things
So
like
then
that.
put it on
but-
the agenda for next month again, and let's
Yes, I
take a
can
look
do.
at getting some proposals.
We need a new website.
Lisa, do you know like what platform it's, like what do you log into?
Is it
Is it
WordPress?
WordPress, is it?
I think it's WordPress, I
I think
think.
it could be WordPress, I don't know. It's ancient. That's all I can tell you, is it's ancient.
Is that it? So we didn't come up with a communication way?
No, I think we all agree that we need some sort of common,
Yeah, and just a suggestion, and I think even more importantly, is just a quick reply too. I mean, it's like.
right.
So if we're
Maybe we're not
doing
getting-
email, you guys
Done,
need to check
got
your
it,
emails.
noted, right, received,
I
right,
don't
yeah,
get
some
it.
sort of acknowledgement,
Does
please.
nobody
That's
send
all.
it to my D, because I don't get emails
I don't send it
about
to your DDA.
I don't get it from, I don't get it at.
I'll reply to your emails, but I don't email that much.
Because like usually I'll reply.
Like I have a
all.
Gmail thing for you.
Yeah.
I have your business for you.
Well, and that's the other part. If one person responds but only replies and doesn't reply all, then only one
You're not
person is
seeing-
getting the response.
right.
So that could be the problem
Whose number is
too.
that? Who's 0561? Who's 0561? Somebody in here? 955-0561?
Don't give out everyone's phone number.
We're still on camera.
Is that not?
All right, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Well, I think for this next month, you're going to get my emails from the chamber thing, how I've been communicating with you guys.
Okay.
Until we
I'll pay
figure
attention.
this out next month,
Sure.
okay?
After we're off camera, Greg, I'll tell you who everybody is.
Zach, do
I
you
got
have,
nothing. Nope.
got nothing?
One real quick thing, within the next couple of days, the plaque for Ted's tree should be here, so we should probably come up with a date to have a whole ceremony, and we can do that next meeting, it's fine. Just wanted to let everybody know that was it.
And I went ahead and told him that we can pay for the plaque as an organization. Lisa?
No,
Well, I want to thank you for helping us on the
Yes.
fly. I mean, you're spending your Saturdays with, working on DDA stuff.
yeah, I
and
won't be doing that again, not on a Saturday like we just had.
But I think our communication, I was gone for 11 days, so.
Right, right,
No.
that's fine.
All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Everybody in favor?
All right.
Yay.